Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon.
Already your horizons have expanded, and in general you are feeling, let's say, a little confused, some of you, and uncertain. That's all right. It's not an easy process to integrate all this information at once, especially here in the hot plate of Sedona. And we were going to advise you right now to use your dream state this evening to integrate what has occurred. This land here, the land of red rocks, has long been used for healing. Native peoples have come here. Giants was a favorite place of the southwestern giants. And you can utilize it as well for your own intentionality. There are vortices here, there's energy, there's hot spots. So before you go to sleep tonight, let's say, put up your secure aura and make an intention that you are going to integrate all that you learned today, and that while you are sleeping, we've done this before here, you are going to imagine that you are lying on a golden table, and that your personal guides and those that you trust from other lifetimes who operate with high intelligence and value and integrity, that they will work with you this evening on an energetic level, hands-on, as you lie on a golden table. And you can make your intentions before you sleep. You say golden table, and if you wake up tomorrow and say, oh pooey, I forgot to think of golden table, it's all right, it's in right now. Unless you cancel it. You can cancel it right now, but otherwise it's in. But it would be good if you reactivate it just before you fall asleep. Golden table, integrating all I'm learning. I'm being worked on, taken to a higher level of understanding. And this is easy to do with a group. It is easy to do in Sedona, and we will be working with you along with others. Again, as we emphasized, there is urgency to get you all up to snuff and to understand your dependency on lights and buttons, and how important it is to straddle reality as if it's still the 50s or 60s. Slow down. Otherwise you will burn out your nervous system and you will become very ill. Jupiter, the bit of astrology here, until August is in the sign of Virgo. So you Virgos, ideally, are having a pretty good time. You Pisces are feeling relatively good. Jupiter's opposite your side. It's squaring the Geminis and the Sagittarius, who are under fire for other reasons. You are learning that astrology can be complicated, and you are learning that just with your sun signs alone, things are going on. And then there's the entirety of the rest of who you are. So this is a good instruction for you. Most important, as we proceed now with answering questions and getting a dialogue with you, is we would like to address the issue that was brought up by the gentleman. What is his name? Was it Carl onto this side here? The prophecy question? Joseph, all right. It is important to understand that prophecies are not inevitable just because they have been laid out by Anunnakis and others who want to seed your reality does not mean that they are inevitable, that is the path and the only way. You are free to choose what you want to experience, but you must make that choice. If you become oblivious, or if you kowtow to the inevitability of the Lord's word and the prophet's word, then of course you are subjected to, you become a member of that particular clan of consciousness. But we are addressing the free thinkers. And your job for the next number of years you will find as you become more aware, is not just to manage you and who you are. You're going to hear things about what's happening in the world, about more war, and proclamations. And people for the last few months have been saying, is this World War III? Have we started? It started. No, it hasn't. There's a fever out there, a war fever, that wants to fulfill itself, yet does not have to. This is the point we want to make. Prophecies are like saying, hey, there's junk in the road up ahead. Steer around it if you don't want to hit it. You understand this? Part of your job will be to cancel storms, to de-energize weather changes and earth changes. When you hear there's tornadoes in another part of the U.S., you may have to take a minute to send energy, speak to the tornadoes, calm them down, lift them up. You are going to be doing more work in managing reality, Saturn, and creating by intention, but without manipulating others to get what you want. This is the power of the mind. And you cannot use the mind to combat. You can use the mind to calm. And some of the weather elements are very upset. They are conscious beings as well, because they are being manipulated. You were talking about Joseph in our vehicle sharing the same birthday with Nikola Tesla. Mr. Tesla, of course, was a small giant. He stood at 6'6", a Serb. And then he would wear 12-inch high shoes to prevent him from getting electrocuted. And he always said that ETs gave him his info. People thought that was so outrageous. Well, now you know that the ETs, lots of them with different intentions and different kinds, can deliver all kinds of information, especially if they want electrical advancements, or if they want to shift the belief system, such as creating Marian apparitions. Now, our vehicle mentioned this, that there were some 20 or so Marian apparitions that were legitimate sightings from Medjugorje in Yugoslavia, which has now been torn apart, to Long Island, to Guadeloupe, a few places in France, etc. And of course, the reports were all paralleling certain messages and certain things that were happening. And at first it was said only the children could see this. And then there was weather changes, and the sun would move in the sky. And of course everyone fell to the knees. And Mary's main message, which was interesting, in the early years, was pray. Pray, pray for peace. Prayer is the same word for intention. The Anunnaki say, pray to us. But this Mary, Ninmah perhaps, said pray. Pray for peace. It's the power of I'm going to have a zippity-doo-dah-day. There's no difference. And so we would say that these apparitions were sent at times to primitivos. We are not insulting you, but there's people who know very little. And they see something in the sky and they have to get down and worship it. This has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years. Ideally, if something manifests from the sky in front of any of you, you're not going to drop to your knees. Think about that. Nonetheless, in the later years, the apparition, the Long Island Bayside Mary, would come in and say, there's evil in the church. Leave the church. What kind of Mary is that? But you see, if you understand that this apparition, it is not really Mary, it is technology. It is technology, Anunnaki technology, holograms. that sometimes had holes in them or they weren't quite all there. And the holograms were sent to stabilize people, control them. And you understand that if there are two warring sides to the Anunnakis, the warring families, they can both use the same technology to confuse and trick people. I'll get Mary to support my side. No, I'll get the Mary apparition to support my side. And the humans are totally confused. And then they end up worshipping a Coke can. You've heard that story, yes? A Coke bottle. They end up worshipping something and become in awe of something. This is just technologies. This is what you're up against, only it's going to be way bigger than Marian apparitions. It's going to be some big stuff, because there are those who want to fulfill some of these prophecies, and they will do what they can to confuse you and to keep you from figuring things out. Very important to remember that. Let's see if there's anything else that's really important to remind you of. All right, we're going to proceed with sharing, discussion, getting to know you. Please ask reasonable, sensible questions, not because you want to know, but imagine, does everyone else in the room need to know what you are asking about? And just to tie up an end of a question, there was a reference to the dolphins and whales. We'll say this too. Saturn and Neptune is going to bring, squaring Neptune, is going to bring a tremendous loss of life. It will become very evident to people all over the world. Loss of life in the Neptunian realms, Enki's realms, the oceans. It's not just Fukushima. There are underground battles that are occurring. There are many underground bases and waterways around the world, from Lake Titicaca to in Bolivia and Peru, to Lake Baikal in Siberia, to sightings from the Great Lakes to off the entire coast of West Coast USA, Hawaii, everywhere. It's everywhere. And there's underground battles that take place with very high-level advanced naval technologies of the world. Human people are part of this, and then they are thrown to the wolves afterwards so that they forget and have no idea what they were part of. There's a lot of damage coming. It could be floodings. You could be, some people are speculating that the rising of waters that has been reported is a prelude perhaps to the Noah era. It's not that the caps are going to slip, that the firmament is going to fall and flood your earth. We do not see this. But we see coastal regions all over the world in the next few years undergo shocking, sudden, surprising, can't function any longer, too close to the coast. And this is going to be an issue. A death in the water. Of course, the dolphins and whales do carry a certain highly evolved code. They are stabilizers of the ocean waters, Enki's territory. Enki is command of water, command of earth. Ea, as he is known, earth is named after him, Eath. So, troubles with the waters, a die-off in the waters, and the reliability that the food that you have been producing from the waters may disappear. This is a very likely scenario in the next number of years. It does not look easy to rehabilitate. There are entirely too many dead zones. The oceans are becoming acidic, filled with life of jellyfish and things of this nature, grasses that thrive in acidic waters. Big change in terms of the type of terrain and environment, and of course, it's all planned. It's all planned. You are, in the end, as we've said, final days of final days. Endings imply beginnings, but these are important things to understand. Do your best to heal the waters around you, because fresh, clear, available drinking water may come at a premium. They are already shipping air to Beijing. Think about that. They're selling Rocky Mountain air on the streets of Beijing. Quite inventive, yes? You're looking for a business, perhaps? We are teasing you. All right, let's spin those beanie wheelers. Let's get smart. Let's get really clear. These are recordings. Let's impress everyone with the kind of subjects, the kind of people you are, what you and everyone needs to know to have peace, to be fearless, but to be reasonably logic and grounded. Who would like to begin this afternoon's discussion?
I have a question.
That was quick on the draw. You are?
This is Carl.
Carl, all right, welcome.
Thank you for being here. My question centers around some of the geometric shapes that are showing up on some of the poles of the planets. And
On some of the poles?
like, say, Saturn, there is a hexagon on top of the pole, North Pole, and it showed up, I believe, in the late 80s. I would like to know if this is a result of some of the new energies our solar system is going through, or some of the new consciousness that is now coming to the surface, or...
How did it show up? Please elucidate.
I saw it on a NASA video, and it's there, and also Richard C. Hoagland had shown it.
It's there as a light form, an energy form, or as a construct?
It is a cloud formation of unmistakable hexagon, and it is a very quick movement, hundreds of miles an hour, and it is unmistakable, and it is still there to this day. Sorry, I was just curious if what produced it is it having to do with the consciousness of the planets itself?
No, it has nothing to do with consciousness.
All right.
This is not about consciousness. This is about purposely being constructed for signals, for energy balancing. Remember, the Anus are the colonizers of your solar system. They have taken ownership of every planet and assigned planetary rulership to the various members of their pantheon. Where possible, they colonize. Earth is for life. Mars used to be for life, but they suffered problems. The Anus and others fought. And there's evidence that things got out of hand, just as they did with Atlantis. But they got really out of hand on Mars. Yet there's massive evidence of huge buildings on Mars. And you will find that other planets, their moons, have evidence of such. The moons of Saturn are colonized by the Anunnaki, as it looks Ceres is, Pluto is. And what they do, they know how to use shapes. Whether the shapes are etheric shapes, cloud shapes, light shapes, energy shapes, or shapes of stone. And such as you recognize the pyramid shape, the tetrahedron on Earth. These are storehouses, and they tend to generate energy. They know how to blend energy and stones and the cosmic radiation. The shapes, any kind of geometric shapes, manage the flow of energy. This is why native peoples had a predilection, they say, for living in the circular structure, versus much of the rest of the world lived in the square or rectangular structure. There's plenty of evidence that indicates that geometric shapes, configurations affect consciousness. And we would say that the Anus are looking to reclaim stability and follow through on big projects in your solar system. And they are using as many planets as they can to mark their territory. That's a very simple way of saying it. Who else has a question?
Palladians, hello.
Hello. You are?
David.
David, welcome. What's your question?
I heard today that there's great problems in the Anu world.
Yes, there are.
Pardon?
There are.
25 years ago, the probability was very high that Lizzie would show up to the planet, present himself as God, and the rest of the world would say, yes, this is God, has that probability changed?
Where did that probability come from?
Us, I guess.
We are not clear on what you are asking at all.
Well, it was disturbing that a Lizzie would actually show up in the flesh.
Lizzie, you're talking about reptilian beings?
Yeah.
How about being really clear so everyone understands what you are saying?
A new lizard being would
Yes.
show up in physical form as God and tell us how he created all of us. And then the rest of us would fall down and worship him as God.
And so you are asking,
What's the probability of that happening now? Maybe it's decreased.
the Anus have been in conflict, of course, about their plans, and as you understand their time sequence, they may take 50 years to pull things off, which is just a few days to them. You follow? 15 years is a day and a half. So 50 years is not long, but you could be long gone by the time they fulfill some of their agendas. What we can say is that by 2027, it appears that the systems that you have been a part of are completely poofed. That there will be depopulation, conflicts, perhaps governmental overthrows, perhaps so much turmoil that it's difficult to see at this point how the props will come out. We believe that you are asking, would Anu return or Enki return in reptilian form to say, I am the creator God you have been praying to? Is that what you are asking?
Yes, it is.
All right, took us a while to get that out there. It's probable, yes, it's probable. It's probable. Would you be prepared for it? No, not at all. It's not something that the human mind is presently capable of accepting. This is why our vehicle quoted George Bush #1 when he said, someone asked him, are you going to tell us the truth about UFOs? And he said, the people of Earth are not ready for it. That's a big indication. Now, in terms of reptilian energy, the big honcho, the big in charge being that all people worship and turn to for thousands of years in China was the dragon. All over the Far East, it is the reptiles and the dragons. The dragon is how it is appeared, the dragon. Look today at how many people, men and women, have begun to cover their body with what you call paintings, permanent paintings, that have a sort of a reptilian feel to them. Some of them literally have scale-like images implied. There is definitely a raising of this serpent reptilian awareness. The gods of South America, Anunnaki, of course, one of the sons of Enki of Africa, Enki's son Nin-Gishzida, was sent with his giants, his team of miners, that they were later called the Olmecs, but they came into the Toltec region of the Americas, and they began to cultivate civilizations, build ports, but they were mining for gold. They were definitely mining. And they are still interested in gold. And there are countries today, Russia, China, India, who have made very big pronouncements about how much gold they have in their vaults. Recently, the state of Texas withdrew $1 billion worth of gold bullion from the Federal Reserve. The feds don't like Texas. Not at all. Texas and a few other places are ready to do splitsky. This is happening all over the world, and those in the know are recognizing that gold not only is going to be the new dollar standard, it's going to be a return to Anunnaki type of a value system, but the Anunnakis are going to honor the countries who have the most gold. All over India, it is all about serpents, reptiles, and women with many arms, and humans with elephant heads. And what do you think all this is? Enlil's daughter, Inanna, sometimes called Ishtar, it was actually his granddaughter. And she would be the great-granddaughter of Anu. But when he visited, he had what you call Congress with her. And she became a favorite of her great-grandfather Anu, and he gave her the Indus Valley. Today you call that Pakistan. Seems to us there's all kinds of problems there as well. And she owned India. And if you look at the Hindu culture and the various caste systems, and you look at the genetic engineering, she appealed to her uncle, Enki, who had his laboratories in East Africa, and they started again to experiment. Is it likely that one of those reptilian gods will appear in reptilian form because of the age shift and change? Likely, but it could be not in your lifetime, because for them it's a few days or weeks. For you, it may be decades. However, we will say that you are going to be confronted sooner rather than later with the worldwide recognition that there are craft in the skies. And there's going to be a lot of confusion and false stories put out, and then it could be that a false war is started as if UFOs, bad UFOs, are attacking you. And then, the saviors come. But it is staged. Do you follow this? Mm-hmm. Because in some way, some of these Anunnakis know that it's time to have revelation. And they can do things. They can mess things up in an extraordinary way. But they can fix things very quickly if they want to. Yet they still need humans to do their work on Earth, to build for them, to put this in place. It seems to us that you have had in your Neptunian glamours, you call them films and TV shows, but they are all set to confuse you and entertain you, that there have been reptilian beings portrayed as kings, yes? Yes. And as gods and regal beings. This is all preparation and revelation of the method. But yet, will it all come down? Everything now is a wild card. And even the Anus are not sure if their plans are going to be implemented, because they rely on humans to implement them. And if there's one characteristic that all you humans have in common, it's your saving grace. You are totally unpredictable. You can be those stuck cows in the field for millions of years, and then suddenly you decide to stand up on your hind legs. This is what keeps you so valuable and yet a befuddlement to many celestials. All right, that question we trust is addressed. Who else has something they want to know?
Hi, Pete.
Hello, who is it?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, welcome. What's your question?
Thank you. I have a two-part question, and it is, how and why do you benefit by playing the trickster coyote? The peas themselves.
How do we benefit? Because we get you to do things by tricking you into it. And then you end up becoming less dependent on systems that are draining your energy. We have been accused of tricking you into higher states of consciousness, but playfully. What's your second question?
My second question is related to the fact
No mousy voices. Project your voice across the room, please.
your message today has been a little down. It's deflating, and I'm looking for some upliftment. And I've been hearing a lot about from other sources about upliftment of humanity. And I'm not hearing any of that in your message. And I'm wondering if, for example, Nisara, if that is a reality on any level.
No. Every year someone asks the same question. No. It's another one of those, how stupid are you? And all this upliftment, let's say, when Obama said at his State of the Union address, anyone who says our financial system is not sound is preaching fiction. People. So this is upliftment. But it's upliftment based on phoniness. If we are not uplifting you, we are sorry, but this is not the time to give you, it's not morning in America. It's not the Reagan era. You are on the verge of a major confusion on the planet. The upliftment we offer you is to use your noodles and to somehow find your way using your mind and using all the uplifting techniques that we in our vehicle have produced for years. But for us to say, oh, everything's glorious now, would be a betrayal of what we know is true. You are looking to be deluded. And many people want to have the nipple of denial. Please just tell me everything's okay, inspire me, reassure me. It's not okay. And if you start looking around the world, you can see that all of these little pieces are going to lead to some manner of something very large that's going to shake up humanity. And that is the reality. How you deal with it is ideally what we are inspiring you and teaching you to do. If that's not enough, then it's not enough. Perhaps we are not the teacher for you. Perhaps you need Nisara.
Thank you.
Waste your money on it. Waste your times on psychological mind control operations. Who else has a question, please?
This is Tatiana.
Who is it?
Tatiana.
Tatiana, welcome. Loud and clear, please.
Thank you. I have two questions. I live in LA where we are sprayed almost daily.
Why do you choose to live there where you are participating in being poisoned?
I feel and have felt compelled from the time I was very young to be an instrument in the transformation and leading people out of the
So you are a martyr. Basically, you are telling us that you are living in a place that's being sprayed every day, but you choose to be there. To us, that makes no sense.
Well, I have plans to move, but for the moment, I have children and I'm tied there.
So what's your question?
My question is, I have been personally affected and am now treating others who have been personally affected by this RD intel, which I would like some clarification around if it is in fact the same thing as what we are calling Morgellons disease and nanotechnology. And if so...
It's all these technologies. It does not make any difference what you call them. They are all designed to weaken and confound the human environment. And the more dense the area is, then the more attack you are going to be under, because it is easier to go after a large group of people all at once. That's why we asked you right away, why are you staying there? It makes no sense. You cannot save other people. Say it again, please.
I feel very strongly to pull and lead certain people out. It's been a time to find my clan and have been inspired most recently to move out of the region. But in the meantime, I feel like I have work to do in terms of helping people with detoxifying, or at the very least neutralizing the negative effects of this artificial intelligence that has invaded many of our bodies. I've personally been able to detoxify quite a bit through frequency, through magnetic, a very strong pulsed electromagnetic frequency in combination with other detox methods. Why are some of us being affected with lesions, cognitive difficulties, memory loss, skin crawling sensations, and others are not? Are some allergic to it?
Some people are much stronger than others. It's just the way it goes. If you are fair, you recognize you are not all created equal. You have human bodies, but you have soul mess-ups. You've all screwed up many times. You have to pay for your consequences in other lifetimes. And so sometimes you have ignored the body. Sometimes you've chosen a genetic line that has a lot of pity, sickness, worry, and let's say that, and then you live in an area that is being bombarded. Understand that there are people who are much stronger than others, and when you become very, very ill, the highest evolution of that illness is, of course, to become a healer, to turn that illness around into positive purpose, and then to help educate others. But, for example, if you say, I'm standing close to the fire and I'm getting burned, and I've learned to teach people to move back from the fire, but I still stand there to get burned. Hello?
Well, I'm not getting burned anymore, but I'm curious why other people are not being healed by the same methods that healed me, and what are practical...
It has to do, of course, with your beliefs about your physical body, the strength of your immune system, and let's say some of this strangeness, especially artificial intelligence, these kinds of things, some of it is left over, being re-stimulated from what you call Atlantean times. Some of it, we're going to be neutral here, some people are targeted specifically because of family affiliations. If you have family members who are military, medical, university medical, or government agencies, even if you are related by distance, experimentation often occurs along those branches. And over eons, the ETs will target certain bloodlines, family lines. This is why some people can have multi-generational, what you call abduction or snatching experiments. Certain DNA is watched. We would say on a higher level, the reason you created it serves a purpose for you, but also you are part of an experiment. We'll leave it at that. Who else has a question, please? Hello. You are?
My name is Guy.
Guy, welcome. You are a real guy. All right, go for it.
Well, there's the two factions of the Anunnaki.
There are two factions, well, two main factions, and they split into all manner of factions.
It seems like the Enki's faction is a little of the lesser of two evils. Maybe he's helping us a little bit.
Enki's, he's saying Enki's line perhaps may be less, what did you say?
Lesser of the two evils.
The lesser of the two evils.
And so
you mean Hillary or Trump? That kind of... Actually, we call him the trumpet, and she is Shrillery. And that sums them up. You understand? We are good at naming. All right. So
to kind of get to the essence of the difference between Enlil and Enki.
Yes, the difference.
They have different mothers.
Yes, they have
very
different...
little that I could find about Ki.
Yes.
Enki's mother, and maybe you could tell
She's
us
the consort.
what kind of being she was, and if she was different from Antu.
She came first. You know, she was a love of Anu, Ki, and of course the official name of Earth is Ki. According to the Anunnaki listings of the planets, they have various names for them. We believe Mars may be Lamu or some such. Earth used to be Tiamat, but then it became Ki. And then when Enki, or Ea as he was known, was sent here, he was a favorite, a genius. He is of the reptilian line. He does not attempt to hide it. He is the serpent in the Garden of Eden. He is the reptilian dragon. His family line, he has the son Marduk. And this is where the problems come in. Marduk is his son born on Nibiru. So Marduk's grandmother was Ki. And Ki adored Marduk, as Ki adored Anu and her son Ea. Then there was the necessity of the heir. And Anu had congress with his half-sister, which would be his official partner on the throne. And in this pantheon of beings, the consort, just as you have a king and he has his harem and he will have 1,000 wives and hundreds of children, he will pick his favorites. They are not legitimate heirs, but they carry out the work of the realm. It is only the heir that can inherit the throne. And the heir must have the proper DNA, whether on earth or in the heavens. The heir must have the proper DNA. This is why on earth, the matings that you are told happen are not exactly what happens. In other words, not everyone is the father of who they say they are the father of. The mother can't hide it, but the father's paternity can be deeply hidden. This was part of Princess Diana's trauma. We'll leave it at that. Now, Enki, of course, Antu was the half-sister of Anu. Anu was, he had to depose someone else. He is very aggressive. He wants to create empire. He knows the more children he has, and the more he separates them, the greater his control over empire will be. So he sends 3 premier ones to earth, each of them with a different mother. And of course, the records here were not made by Anu. They were made by Enki and Enlil and the other Anunnakis, and they were dictated to scribes. And so they told the story that they wanted you to translate because they knew, with their help and their prophecies and their dimensional watchers and guardians, that they would develop you through the flood era, the post-diluvial era. That would be the major flood that happened 11,000 BC, or about 13,000 years ago. The age of Leo, opposite where you are now entering the age of Aquarius. Half a great year. And civilization had to be rehabilitated. It was a long, difficult haul. And it was during this time that the records were left and set. And so they could hide a lot of things. They could hide a lot of their mistakes. It was said that the flood came along to wipe out all that was not functioning. And that all that was left was Noah. And many people, as we said earlier, feel that this potentiality of this sort of grand cataclysmic imprint can return again. We would say not in that capacity, but you are crossing a big threshold. And this is why you're incarnated. And you're not incarnated to escape. You are here to hear the tough story. And we're going to tell you the truth. We're not going to pad it for you. So, the Anunnaki obscure their own records because they want you to have a certain picture of them. And because they are very good about timing, and they have set up your timing mechanisms, and they understand cosmic influences and times of acceleration, they basically have been rehabilitating Earth, preparing for big changes. And again, nothing is set into stone. They are impulsive at times. They created war again about 4,000 years ago. And they themselves are not even certain of their own reliability. They again, the greatest thing we can say is the turmoil that you are experiencing is part of the turmoil that they are in. And it can be worked out. And that is why you are here. But it's not going to be an easy task. Who else has a question, please?
Peace.
Yes.
Hello, my name's Cecilia.
Your name is Cecilia?
Yes.
Welcome. What is your question?
Enki's gift. I'm wondering why he would put something in our DNA that would activate it. What would be his motivation? And when it does fire off,
It has been firing off slowly.
how is that going to change the person, and how's that going to change that person's timeline?
It's going to change the person. First of all, he would encode this because back long ago, Enki could see that there were too many problems in the family. And that his mother was pushed away, the brothers fought, the sisters fought. He could see the psychosis. And he was your creator, so to speak, your progenitor, with Ninmah, and he's the genius, and he encoded the DNA with, let's say, some backdoors. You understand that language because of your computers. Yes, backdoors. A little bit of an opening that later on, if you want to come back and fix something, you can get in. You follow? Enki and others of these genetic engineers, and we said long time ago that it is the reptilian race who do understand genetic engineering. Nonetheless, Enki can readjust, retweak human DNA or any DNA life form by very advanced technologies. And he and many others know that when there are certain celestial configurations, this is what time and calendars are based on, that things get set off. And Enki's gift, or the awakening of humankind, the purpose is to understand the dilemma of the Anunnaki story, which is your story, your dilemma. You are acting out their psychoses. You are confused as they are. And there's a potential to turn it all around. There's a grand potential to use these powers for goodness. Just as there's no shortage of money in the world. Yet the criminals that are running all the political systems, recently it was said that we believe at one of those Davros meetings when the criminals get together, the world movers and shakers, sometime in 2016, 1% of the people will reach the magical number. They will own 50% of the world's wealth. Right now there are 2 billion people, 3 billion people, 4 billion people, some such, that live on $2 a day. There's plenty of money in the world. And you have people say, we're going to redistribute it. You can't get things for free. You give people things for free, they get lazier and lazier and lazier. But you are under misconceptions of reality, and your systems need to crash because they are unfair. And when things blow up and crash, especially if they do so without destroying life, it gives an opportunity for restructure, rebuilding, restoring fairness, and restoring the proper use of energy. But we would say all these green people and all these people promoting what's called climate change and weather control, they want to penalize anyone who is denying that climate change is taking place. So there's plenty of very good things that can happen. So how is this going to happen? It's going to take a lot of good people seeing through what's not working, looking at the hard stuff, and making intentions and finding solutions. This is what it's really all about. Did you have something else to ask?
Yes, I did. Thank you for asking. Could you give us an update on what's going on underground? You said that some facilities have been taken over and that there's going to be some people from underground showing up, and I just want an update. And I would say that what you've given us as far as the tools, if I go out in the forest and people are disappearing, if I just use your simple techniques, will that, and my intention to be safe, will that be enough to protect me from being taken from certain entities?
All right, the rest of the group probably does not know what she is speaking of, but you are listening to our CDs, yes?
Yes.
It's been reported for a while now that people are disappearing. It's been old, you know, you have the people at, what was it called, Roanoke or some such, the Lost Colony. There are places in Australia, people have disappeared. But now they are, it appears people are reporting here, there, everywhere, that young men are disappearing in broad daylight, in the middle of the day, in urban areas. They walk out, and then suddenly they're gone. It's generally, the snatching appears to be occurring now to young men, and the commonality is of German descent. What Cecilia is asking is, can she go into the forest regions and using the tools of protection that we have given her, can she be safe? We cannot give you a guarantee on that, Cecilia, simply because there's too much craziness going on, and there are forces connected to earthbound forces of a militaristic nature working with extraterrestrial forces using invisibility techniques and selectively targeting certain individuals, young men particularly, for their DNA. And then they are found dead, left in water. A lot of times they are after the sperm of these young men. And a thread of commonality is that these young men have German descent. Not all. That's just one branch of it. But then there are women disappearing, lots of people disappearing in the national parks and forests. There is a man, his name is, we believe, David Paulides, who has been researching this. He has law enforcement, military background, some such. And around the national park regions of the United States, there's a creep factor that rangers and others won't talk about. And that is that people disappear in broad daylight. They walk a corner, they're gone. Then their bodies are found miles away, shoes off, pants down, in total inaccessible areas where it would be impossible to climb to get to. Some are saying it's like something reaches out of the sky to grab them. It's long been known that cattle mutilations, animal mutilations have been going on, some sort of genetic harvesting of stem cells, of tissue, of this kind of thing. People have received abductions from the dream state. Your intentions, of course, are very powerful. And they do set up protection. But the forests are not as they used to be. Even the animals are under duress. There are sightings of very strange things in the woodlands of the world. Now, just to give you a little bit of a background, it was said that when Teddy Roosevelt, he was head of the Rough Riders, he was your president in the 1800s, we believe the war with Philippines or some such like this. Nonetheless, he was very big on exploring the West. And he went to the Dakotas and the northern part of the West, and he was instrumental in setting up the national park systems. And he would hire trackers and guides and trappers, and they would work with the native peoples. And they were always told stories about monsters that walked the lands. And the native peoples had all manner of warnings and protections and areas to stay away from. That there were creatures that would come and devour you or snatch cattle or these kinds of things. We are saying this has long been around. But everything is stirred up now. We would not recommend going on your own far deep into the wilderness in today's world. Does that give you an answer?
Yes, thank you.
All right. People, strangeness is afoot. And you do create your reality, but things do happen as well. You may think you're smart, but you may not know what you're up against. There's lots of things. The national parks are very remote. And so many creatures, extraterrestrials, visitors, have set up bases inside mountains in remote areas. And genetic experimentation has continued to go on in underground laboratories. Remember, the Anunnaki do not live on the surface of the planet. Because the planet has such a large elliptical orbit, it moves far, far out into the cosmos, outside your solar system, far beyond any solar influence. Their planet, according to their records, is Vulcan. Vulcan also is another name for Enki. He was called Vulcan, we believe, in the Roman pantheon. Nonetheless, they have volcanoes. They use thermal heat. The volcanic richness has created protection in their atmosphere, and yet they want the gold in gold dust far, far out to protect them. Basically, they know how to live inside of planets. They have honeycombed the inside of your planet. It is filled with underground cities, bases, tunnel systems from long, long ago. That's what the wars are about, to go back and claim the territory and the openings. And since the early 1980s, in the USA and other places around the world, Russia and China have just recently jumped on. Massive underground construction is taking place. Massive. This is the big secret project today, to become an engineer who knows how to be a tunneling mining expert. This also was Mr. Ahmadinejad from, what was it? Iran. Yes, Iran. Persia. Questions?
Peace.
Over here, please, yes?
Hi, yes, this is Pulse.
Who is it?
Pulse.
Pulse?
Heartbeat, Pulse, yeah.
Loud and clear. What's your question?
My question is
Welcome.
in regards to the body.
The body.
In regards to the body, earlier your vehicle was talking about the importance of water and minerals and sleep. And I'm curious about the importance or the relevance of fasting and what that does to regenerate the cells. I've explored practices that in the Ayurvedic and in the Chinese tradition of Bigu, where they use Qigong and other meditative methods while being in nature to wean off of food entirely in a way that their body is able to self-regenerate. I'm curious if the body is moving in that direction.
No.
Okay.
It's too fanatical. We've had people to say, can I live on the sunlight, staring at the sunlight? Can I be a breatharian? Can I fast? Fasting is very good, especially intermittent fasting. It allows the body to rest. You have been conditioned to eat, and you get fatter and fatter and fatter because you don't run around and use the body anymore. It would be a good idea to, let's say once in a while, have a day, a month, where you have liquids. Or you say, I'm just going to have for a week, I'm going to have liquids in the morning, I'm just going to have a meal later in the day. Don't get fanatical. There are all manner of crazy ideas today that are trendy and cool, and most of them are too out of balance. Look for moderation, look for sensibility, recognize everyone's body is different, and do not intend to be some sort of idealized figure. Feel good in your body. Do not be afraid of food. Love food. Cook food. Eat reasonably, fast reasonably, rest reasonably, and don't jump on any trendy bandwagons. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Good. You're not going to live without food. You're not going to live without air, or on air, and you're not going to live on sunlight. You are creatures, and accept your creaturehood. If you skip food for your animals, what's going to happen? They're going to look at you. Why are you being so mean? You want to clean your body, give it a rest. Don't stuff it with so much stuff. Have a watermelon day. That's very good. Get some good watermelon that's not been sprayed. Treat yourself to a flush out. Do some good drinks, make juices. But be reasonable. Don't get fanatical, please. And enjoy life. Have a glass of wine. Have that cup of coffee now and again. Have that ice cream cone. But not every day or 5 times a day. You follow? You are here for a bite of pizza. You are here for good sex. You are here for fantastic sunsets. You are here to love, to have fun. And there's a lot of lots of people who want to make money on you on the internet. Click on this fast fix. Click on this. You'll lose 50 pounds in 5 minutes. You'll do this. You'll feel 1,000 times better. You're being scammed. It's a racket. Demonstrate to us people that you are flooded with common sense, reason and logic and common sense. Demonstrate it, please. Who has a brilliant question?
Pete.
Is it brilliant?
Almost.
That's a quick save. We have to give it to you. When she said almost, that was a quick comeback. What's your name?
My name is Athena.
Athena, all right. Go for it, Athena.
Thank you.
What's your almost brilliant question?
It could be brilliant. I'm thinking about you were talking about everything going underground and the people underground.
What do you mean everything? We're not saying everything
the
underground.
Underground.
Say it again.
Middle Earth inhabitants, the tunnel systems and so forth. And so this brings me to fracking and opening the ground. And is this also another...
It's being used as a cover to flood the interior regions with toxic chemicals in the name of fracking, which has no validation in today's market. The frackers, it's a good question there. We'll give you this almost brilliant on it. The frackers, of course, need, just as the Saudis and many others, the Russians, the Venezuelans, they need oil to be at least $100 a barrel. Oil got down, we said if it goes below 40, it's the end. And it got down to, 27, 25. There's no economic logic to carrying out fracking. The banks these oil loans are being called in now. And of course, all the companies didn't make any money. So the next bust is the oil loans. And this is going to destroy you massively. The banks are going to all crash because they lent out, U.S. banks, way too much money to this fracking business, and you're not getting anything out of it. But you see, what they used to do is go down and do underground nuclear testing. How many times did you hear that? We're going to do underground testing, underground testing. How many nukes do you have to let off underground? That's a cover, and has been from the 50s, 60s onward, for bombarding various nests and areas of inner earth habitation. The inside of the earth is massive. Some areas, of course, are more habitable than others. The Anunnaki, because they live inside their own planet and without sunlight, as you know it, they have ways of generating food and growing things in an environment without sunlight. There have been whistleblowers who have taken pictures of the tunnel systems that the military has built, and they are massive. Some of these tunnel systems, you could line up 20 what you call those big trucks that are on the highways. Semis. Good collection there. You could line up 20 of these semis, nose to tail. These are how wide some of the systems are inside the earth. It's the Germans, under the Anunnaki influence, who are the premier miners on the planet, the metallurgists. They have built the technology to tunnel inside of the earth. But again, the Anunnaki have used the Germans, particularly in terms of Nazi Germans, to anchor part of their agenda on the earth. Again, family disputes, families taking over different countries, people in countries, to establish military might. The Anunnaki use human counterparts to build military might, and then they get you to fight wars that are their wars, and the winner takes all on an Anunnaki level, and the humans are simply the fallout for all of this. Questions? Yes, a high priest over here, deep voice. Who is it?
This is Hashem.
Hashem, welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Our pleasure. Thank you for being here.
You had mentioned earlier hereditary weaknesses, and
Now, everyone has hereditary weaknesses. Are you activating them?
well, my question was, we've also been told that we create our own reality. So I think my question is, could you help me understand why would we create a reality where we're coming into a body that has certain hereditary or genetic illnesses or weaknesses, or for instance, children that are born with certain health issues?
Excellent question.
And if those can be healed or changed.
And your name again?
I'm Hashem.
Hashem. All right. Often when a young person is at birth congenital, that means in the womb, or in their first 7 to 12 years, they take on a major illness. This is most often a karmic situation, a sort of, I did this, therefore I will take this on to rectify the situation or to restore balance. When it's young children, it effectively brings the family together or separates them, and with the young children, it's always a heart chakra issue of how much compassion the parents and the family will move into with an ill child. It totally changes the direction that the family would move in when a young child is affected with a disease. And of course, technically, perhaps mother or father were exposed to something, carcinogens. There's always a physical component to, as a contributing factor, that would, on a physical level, create a tweaking or a damaging in the chromosomes. And then why would a person incarnate into that body? Perhaps that's the body they need, the body they qualify for, to understand their soul lesson, where when they had a vibrant, functioning, full sex on, food, yes, war, body, they didn't value it. Or perhaps they created a lot of harm for others. And sometimes warriors, killers, big killers, they carry those wounds forward with them, those who are wounded in battle. Sometimes a person is killed or dies in a very traumatic way. The soul remembers the trauma, and the trauma is meant to sear the soul so that the person gets the lesson. Then the person may be born with birthmarks, or what you call birth defects, that would be sometimes a carryover from the soul's memory, so that it would remember the lesson. Yet you get in the body, and the challenge is, wow, you forget everything. And by the time you grow up, you forgot why you came in. And when you are little and you say to your mother, you know, I knew you before, or I was your mother, or I did this or that, people think it's cute, but some people are very frightened of it. And if you are in the wrong family, they say you are the devil. You must be possessed and taken over if you remember past lives. So there's always a connection, there's always a reason. Today, unfortunately, we would say too many mothers and fathers are far too careless in the cultivation and the treasuring of their egg and their sperm. Why? Because you can't see it. It's something you can't see. And women are Wi-Fiing themselves, microwaving themselves. Wi-Fi, you call it Wi-Fi, we call it Wi-Fi or we-fry. Actually, it's you-fry. And you are frying, there's no doubt about it. All the denial in the world, all the protection in the world, your tinfoil will help you, but you are living in an exceptionally toxic environment. Now, can this be healed? Let's say that if you look around, sometimes there's stories, inspiring stories, about people who are born with defects, we'll call them, or challenges, or handicaps is the word. And they excel to extraordinary levels. And this is remarkable, the will within the human spirit to overcome things that were carried forward, and not to be ashamed or to be depressed or to kill yourself because you are not complete, but to rise above it. And you are seeing this, you have seen this demonstrated in many, many people. But today, the environment is making it difficult for people to enter with clarity. This is why there's so much autism. It's all over the world. In the United States, not long ago, it was 1 in hundreds. Now with young boys, it's 1 in less than 50. And of course, young boys are being targeted because who would overthrow the government? Men, it is usually men. Nonetheless, men are being targeted. Women are being confounded and being encouraged to turn into men. Women, you'll never be men, and men, you're never going to be women. No matter what the Kardashian family wants to sell you. They are deeply immersed in mind control themselves, and they make no decisions on their own. They are an example of puppetry to confuse the masses. Now, each to their own karma, each to their own clarity. Can things be healed? They can be improved. And you can lead with illness a quality of life. There is a book we have recommended, and our friend Connie brought it to our attention, and we have put it in our newsletter, the Pleiadian Times. It is the book you want in your library. And it is called the Dictionary, the Complete Dictionary of Ailments and Diseases. And the subtitle is something like How Our Emotions are at the source of all of our illness. And it is by a man named Jacques, in the French tradition, Martel, we believe, and it is in English but written by a French Canadian. You have to go to Amazon.ca to get it. They do not have it in USA. This book will liberate all of you on whether you have hearing issues, eye issues, whatever it is. You look it up and you can see what the emotional or soul story is behind it. Knowing the story, you can shift the energy, accept responsibility, and love yourself. The answer to improving the quality of your life, we hope this is positive and inspiring enough, is to love yourself. And only you can generate that. When you love yourself and accept who you are, all your lumps and bumps and wrinkles and imperfections, then you can improve. We'll end with this. At the same time things are collapsing and degrading, all that needs to collapse will collapse. But brilliance is arising here and there. And there are those who have good hearts and complete integrity. And it is their desire to help to make humans whole again. To take you out of the fear of operations and poisonings, and to restore the body into wellness with new techniques. Not just stem cells and medical experimentation, but new ways of understanding the technologies of sound, light, and other advancements, frequencies. You're on the cusp of massively improving and enhancing quality of life for those who can understand it. At the same time, you're going to witness denial, sickness, depopulation, and you will see many people. You'll say to them, you know, if you take this can improve your life. No, my doctor would not permit it. I'm going to have a head transplant. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for laughing. And we don't mean to make fun of it, but you get the point here. And this is what's going to be difficult. Some see the solutions, and others will say, no. This is the most challenging part of finding clarity, finding freedom, and living without fear, is to want to help others, and they are not interested. Remember, you are not prophets, you are people. But you are here to do a big job. Do your best to switch your computer on by loving yourself. Your job is to have fun. Did you hear that? To have fun. And Seth used to say, if it's not fun, stop doing it. That'll help you out tremendously. But your job is also to improve your life to such a degree that you end up becoming smarter, wiser, and a stabilizer for those that you love. They will eventually figure it out. But you show the way and demonstrate it. We've had a good day. Remember the golden table tonight. We'll see you in the morning. Pleasant dreams, pleasant journeys. Good evening.
Thank you.